Aaron David Miller is a CNN global affairs analyst and has an op-ed on the Iran nuclear talks. It's up now on CNN.com. He joins me now from Maine. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure, Allison.
So what are the hurdles to getting this nuclear deal done?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 16 months now of negotiations on and off. Negotiations are not direct. They've been indirect. Having been around a negotiation or two on the Arab-Israeli issue, the Americans and the Iranians were talking directly. It may well be that they would have created a sense of confidence and trust that doesn't now exist, and maybe they would have been able to sort this out. But after Mr. Biden's predecessor unilaterally pulled out of the deal, the Iranians essentially said, we're not going to negotiate directly with the Americans. We don't trust them. So the Europeans have taken the lead role, along, of course, with the Chinese and the Russians. And indirect negotiations are fine if, in fact, there's a sense of confidence and trust. Not only that, you've got a variety of issues in these talks which are genuinely difficult to manage. The agreement that they're trying to negotiate would provide a pathway back to the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement. It would create incentives for Iran by removing sanctions. For the Americans and the Europeans, it would impose restrictions on Iran's nuclear program, and there would be a sequence in which both of these things will be orchestrated. And there's one outstanding issue which is outside of the agreement, and that is a probe by the International Atomic Agency, IAEA, has a multi-year investigation going based on evidence that the Israelis provided from a cache of Iranian documents, which they managed to get out of Tehran. Apparently there are traces of uranium-enriched material, which the Iranians have not disclosed. So the IAEA wants full disclosure and wants answers to these questions. The Iranians want the probe closed off. So that's going to remain a hurdle. And essentially, I think that's where we stand.
Why is it so important for this deal to go through? Can the Iranians be trusted? You think about what happened when JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was rolled back in 2015 because of the Trump administration. It gave Iran, kind of free rein to getting pretty close to having a nuclear weapon. So what's the likelihood that even with a new deal that Iran will just, roll that back after all that work it's put in?
They came pretty close, Allison, to producing enough fissile material, enriched uranium, to make a nuclear weapon. It would probably, by estimates, require another 2 years to actually do a physics package and miniaturize the warhead and create a delivery system if they wanted to do it via ballistic missile. But that's a key point. But remember, unilateral withdrawal from the agreement is on the Trump administration. And as a consequence of the previous administration's campaign of maximum pressure, the Iranian economy suffered, to be sure, but Iran has made extraordinary advances in terms of how much uranium that they now actually have, and how quickly they could now move to produce enough fissile material for one or maybe 3 or 4 nuclear weapons. I think the deal is still important because it's frankly the only restraint or constraint on a weapons program that if in fact the Iranians decide to weaponize, we're headed clearly for a preemptive Israeli strike, or perhaps even a more comprehensive American one. So re-entering the JCPOA, it's a flawed but functional agreement. It would essentially constrain Iran's nuclear program and prevent them from becoming a nuclear threshold state, probably for about 8 years. The downside of the agreement, of course, assuming it can be monitored and there's transparency, is that with sanctions relief and with oil rejoining the market, the Iranians are going to have an enormous amount of resources, now access to their frozen reserves, in order to spend on their regional activities, which is one of the
Mhm.
great weaknesses, I think, of the process. The agreement was never designed to restrain Iran's regional activities or, frankly, its ballistic missile programs. I think, as flawed as the agreement may be, it it really does create a break and a deterrent on what could easily be not only Iran's determination to continue to enrich and spin advanced centrifuges and perhaps even weaponize, it's going to spur a regional arms race among other key Arab states, the Saudis and the Emiratis in particular, who are going to argue if Iran is on the path toward creating a weapon, we need one too.
Right. All right, Aaron David Miller, CNN Global Affairs analyst, thanks for all of your great analysis.
Thank you, Alison.